Good morning, everyone. And how are we all feeling today? Maybe some odd combination of trepidatious, qualified excitement at seeing so many businesses gearing up for reopening, but also concern that it's potentially happening too early. And likewise, maybe a blend of anticipation at getting going again, with more than a frisson of uncertainty about how it will actually all work. You and me both. Well, we might as well be positive and give it a proper go. Keep optimistic, keep hopeful that the people and businesses here and plus Bath's extraordinary vitality will serve us all well in the coming months. My name is Greg and welcome to our latest Bath Life Business Club. No longer Tales from Lockdown, by the way, more Tales of Our New World. At Bath Life, we're trying to help businesses in these unprecedented times with practical insights and inspirational thinking. We can all do with help. There is no monopoly on wisdom. Before some news. Following its sellout success, we held another Bath Life virtual wine tasting last week with our partner Stony Street. Once more, it raised money for the Bath Bull. Talking of the Bull, we're running a very special fundraising evening on July 30th, Bull's Aid. I hope you've heard about it already. I even more hope you'll be joining us on the 30th of July. It's a charity comedy, food and drink, music, quirky celebration, including some top names and even the odd bit of bull, you never know. And raffle prizes. And dressing up, obviously, it's the Bull, come on. It's headline sponsored by Brewin Dolphin, our thanks to them, and backed by dozens of Bath businesses once more, who know that Bath's charities really need funds in these times. Please talk to us about how you can be involved and check the site for the ways in which you can donate, sponsor, contribute. Imagine what you'd be spending during the Bull, maybe donate some of that. First big Bath event since lockdown? Oh yes. Bull Aid, it will bring us all together in tough times, as well as raising good sums for charity. July 30th. Other stuff, look out for Bath Life's Our Doors Are Open campaign on social media, email newsletters and video, promoting retailers and others coming back into commercial life. If you have time-sensitive news, such as your own business opening up, please do talk to us about using the Bath Life weekly newsletter out on Friday each week. For creators and techs, we'll be announcing the finalists for the Creative Bath Awards just tomorrow. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, it'll have been today or yesterday or whenever. You get the gist. We've had a tremendous response, pandemic notwithstanding. Also, look out for our next Bath Life Business Surgery on July 6th with DataSharp about your technology strategy, return to work. We've been asked about the return of Bath Life. Well, all I can say at this stage is that there might just be an announcement this week. Bath together, eh? So to our Bath Life Business Club today, sponsored once more by Mojas Druitt. This time we have a health and beauty special, a vital sector which is grappling, if that's not an inappropriate term in terms of social distance, with how it can return to business. We'll explore a number of themes with our panel of speakers, and please do ask any questions via the Q&A button below. We'll be hearing from, in this order, Aaron Collins-Thomas of Tonic Life, Catherine Spreadbury of Little Lab, Tony Talbot, the Talbot Clinic, and Eddie Illich of Eddie's Street Cuts. Aaron, if I could ask you to come forward, step forward virtually. We'll have a chat.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
So you're, in ordinary times, you're a very busy man. You're a PT at Babington, a sports massage therapist, acupuncturist, a chewing nail practitioner, as well as running Tonic Life. Busy man, but presumably not quite so busy in current times.
I actually got very lucky. The first 3 weeks of lockdown, I wasn't very busy at all. But another thing that I teach is something called Qigong, a bit like Tai Chi, and I've found a huge online market for it. And I've been extremely busy teaching that. Each week, I think I've seen about 250 people in the last 8 weeks on my online course, which has really kept my business alive. It's been great.
And how has it been for you personally, navigating this great pause?
I think, like I said, I was lucky there to have found Qigong, because the first 3 weeks of lockdown was a lot of stress. Obviously, the gym was closed down. The gym is only 18 months old, and so it wasn't in a position to pay me a huge wage and support me very much. And so I topped my income up with other things like my one-to-one personal training clients, but everything just stopped. And I still had all my outgoings, as sure as everyone else did. And the first 3 weeks were really really stressful, and the unknown of when we were going to be able to open again. You know, having to work hard to negotiate with landlords about rent and things like that. It was a tough time.
How are your stress levels currently? Oh, not for this interview, but being, you know, slightly generally.
I feel a lot better about things. Like I say, the first 3 weeks were really tough, but as soon as I found an income again and some way of supporting myself and making sure I can keep everything going, you know, the stress levels came right down. And it probably helps that I do a very mindful practice. Qigong is about meditating, and so that's really helped me anyway, teaching that every day.
Well, I'd have thought on the basis of physician heal thyself that you'd be better able to manage this than perhaps others. But I wanted to ask you this question. Yours is a very personal service, which actually sounds weirdly euphemistic. But have you missed the human touch, almost literally, of being with people, being up close and very personal with them?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite bits about the job, spending that much time with people one-to-one and in groups. You know, at the Tonic, we've got maybe 15 to 20 people in a room at once. So you're interacting with loads of different people. And there's the energy and the vibe that you get from everyone that kind of I really feed upon. And so that was, yeah, that's probably been one of the hardest bits, and not even being able to see friends and family for so long as well. That's it's a tough part of the job.
You've told us a little bit about what you've been able to do in terms of virtual training. Will that virtual side continue, do you think? It has advantages of efficiency. You can have a lot of people in one time, albeit not the intimacy or the more general closeness with your clients.
I think on the Tonic front, we're definitely going to keep some classes online. There were some classes that really worked well, like our yoga sessions were really more popular online than they were when we had them in the gym. I think it was just because it was more accessible. All people needed was a yoga mat. But for people to keep getting results with us and in their training, you know, they need to have some of the weights that we've got, and people haven't been able to invest in kit, or kit's been really hard to get hold of anyway. And I think every online supplier sold out of almost everything. So there will be a small presence online still, but more for like yoga or qigong or some meditation sessions. But I think the core workout stuff still needs to be in the gym, and I think people are really raring to get back to that and using the weights again.
And what about your international retreats? Are they back on the agenda yet, or you're considering them for next year?
Yeah, I think that would have to wait till next year. I do one in Greece normally, and currently we're still not allowed to travel there as the UK, as far as I'm aware. So that's kind of on hold. And so, yeah, I think we're just going to be pushing back to next year. I don't know how many people are happy to be traveling at the moment anyway. You know, a lot of people I know still don't want to get on planes, even when the option's there. So, yeah, sadly, no international retreats, but we're going to look to do some more local ones. I work with some guys at the Farm Camp, which is in Winsley. And they've also got a place called the Cherrywood Project now, which is up near Ashwick, Cologne direction. So we're going to kind of work on some stuff for the late summer and do some weekend retreats and things there. So we're just going to keep it local and utilise what we've got all around us, really.
There's a couple of points there. One is that I think all of us are almost daily having to recalculate what we think about things. And it may well be the case that all of us will feel differently about international travel in a couple of months, 3 months, whatever. As of now, it looks problematic. But the other point you've touched on is that this point about increasing localness, that has been one of the themes of lockdown, that lockdown has made everything local, that there is a desire to connect more deeply locally, particularly with the independents, but to traverse our locales. Do you see your business inherently becoming that much more locally focused as a result?
I think, I'd like to think we always were, but I do, yeah, I do think that's going to grow. I mean, we've been talking to the guys at Green Park Station, and we're using their space undercover where they normally hold the market on us on a weekend to do our training, and they've been really accommodating and really helped us set that up. And then the guys within Green Park, you know, those the food stalls and everything, we've got some deals going with those guys to help our clients have some food or whatever afterwards. So yeah, we're starting to really bring that together. And then we've been contacted by loads of other local businesses throughout the period coming to support us. So there's Landlaw, who have come and did some filming with us last week. And they're creating some short videos on the independents. So it's definitely started to bring things together a bit, which has been great.
And again, that's a related theme, that the increased amount of collaboration. All of us are realizing, of course, that there are some great opportunities, great businesses, great partnerships, interesting people. We perhaps were less focused on previously. So the more that we can do through Bath Life to encourage that, and whether it's virtual events like this or whenever the magazine comes back, which we'll be announcing reasonably shortly, we want to play our part to the absolute full. I want to end, Aaron, with this section with one question to you. I am assuming that you have had the most rigorous personal training regime during lockdown, and that you haven't missed a single session with yourself, as it were.
I've been really enjoying the time to train and do different things, because normally I'm running around trying to do too many things. As a normal business owner, I've always got a lot going on, and it's hard to find that rhythm. And in lockdown, I haven't been getting up at 5 every morning to open the gym, and I haven't been finishing really late, so I found a rhythm, but I've mixed it up. So I'm lucky enough where I'm locked down that there is a lake nearby. I've been swimming in the lake and doing cold water therapy. I've been doing lots of runs in the beautiful countryside. I've just been doing stuff I wouldn't normally do and wouldn't normally have the time for, and it's been really nice to find that rhythm and that routine.
Really good. Aaron, for now, if I could ask you to disappear in the nicest possible way, we'll bring you back for the panel session shortly. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Catherine, if you could step forward, please, from Little Lab.
Good morning.
Hey, Kat, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Greg?
Well, I don't know, really. I think it depends. It's different on different days, but broadly okay. Broadly pretty optimistic about things. But tell us about how lockdown has been for you personally. Slightly separate to the business. Most of us cross over between business and personal, but for you personally, what's it been like?
It's been quite a crazy time for me. We had to move house during lockdown on our own, so single-handedly with a toddler. So that was a challenge in itself. And obviously the business was closed. And also during that process, we were one of the only people locally in Bath, I think, to get burgled as well. So yeah, it was a crazy time. I'm not going to lie. It was tough. Those first few weeks were really tough for us as a family, but mentally I'm very different now.
Was the, if I may ask, was the burglary, quite severe in terms of what was taken, or opportunistic, or?
I suppose it was all our electronic devices. So ironically, at a time when you need them the most and technology is so vital, all our electronic devices got taken. But on a positive, we got them all returned and he got caught. So it all ended up, positive in the end. We got it all back. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't a stressful time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure we're all very sorry to hear that. And at least there was some form of justice, and yes, you got the equipment back. Let me come on to you in terms of the business. I'm assuming you, like many of us, have been frustrated at not being able to work, or at least not able to work in the same way. How's that been?
Yeah, I mean, initially it was such a scary process because obviously we've been going for 8 years, and you always have issues with cash flow and all these different issues as a retail business anyway. But to be actually the option taken away from you of being in operation at all was scary. But I've approached it differently now, and I've been doing loads of courses, and the girls have been doing courses, and yeah, I ended up furloughing myself as well as the girls. So I've taken quite a different option to a lot of other businesses and actually decided to take a break on it and come back stronger and come back with a different approach with the business.
Did you actually manage to switch off in that time? I'm not asking from a HMRC case of where you really furloughed. It's not that. But
No.
just mentally, did you truly switch off?
Honestly, I switched off for about 3 weeks. Yeah. And the only other time I've ever done that was when I had my baby. So that was it. So, and I switched off for about 3 weeks with Queenie, my little one. So yeah, about 3 weeks I switched off, and then slowly it came back in. I think owning a business, it's always there, isn't it, in your head?
It is indeed. And your current plans, if you could just talk us through, because there's been quite a lot of focus on hairdressing particularly, and we'll come on to Eddie shortly. But in your world of beauty, you aren't able to come back quite so early. Is it August you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I thought in my head would be mid-July anyway. I thought there would be more restrictions on us, being honest. But I think end of July, beginning of August is a realistic aim for us, maybe 3 weeks after the 4th. But then we'll address it as it goes. We still don't know, do we?
No. Well, what has been the effect on your team? You mentioned that they were furloughed. How many in your team, and what will the team look like the other side?
So there were 6 of us, and we were in the process of hiring another 2 members. One member came to the end of her contract, which was really tough for her just before all the situation happened. One of our really good members, senior members, left a week before lockdown to set up a business with one of her friends as a freelancer. which was just catastrophic. And obviously at the time we were really happy for her, and we thought it was going to be a really positive business decision, and I'd coached her loads on it and said, if you want any help with your business, we will support you. But obviously for her it hasn't been an easy start at all. It couldn't be any worse for her.
Yeah. Well, there's an argument that says we all learn more in adversity, but the problem with your former colleague is that she didn't have a runway before the adversity hit, so it must have been particularly hard. So tell us this, what will you be doing differently on your return, partly in terms of the sort of service offering, but also in terms of your approach?
I think the main thing that I've realised having a bit of a break is the culture of Little Lab. And when you start a business, you envisage this brand, and maybe we've gone a bit off piste of what we were really about. So I wanted to bring it back, more of the focus on our makeup, and change the culture slightly in the way that the team work, and be a bit more kind to themselves and kinder to others, and making sure that they really look after themselves, really, because you can get quite burnt out in this industry.
When you say kind, I'm sure you've not been unkind previously.
No, we haven't been unkind, of course not. Just being a bit more mindful to each other as a team, just giving more of a support network, taking time out more together, doing some more mindfulness tips together as well, learning together again, training together a bit more, and focus a bit more on the team as a whole, really, and just getting the focus back on makeup rather than just pure beauty, which we were doing a lot of.
Yeah, you've sort of answered the next question. I just want to get a sense of shape of your business going forwards. What will you likely to be doing more of? It's going to be more busy than it was previously, and then perhaps less busy. For example, I'm assuming, at least in the near term, your highly successful workshop and makeup parties presumably are not yet due to happen. You can't have crowds together. No,
so I think the business will see a bit of a split. So I think we'll end up doing sort of beauty in the store, in the shop. So we'll do sort of your pedicures, your manicures, and everything we can sort of socially distance to a certain point, and then all the makeup will need to go online, and the focus will need to be more virtual, which is going to be a massive change for us, and also a massive tech change for us as well. A lot more work.
Yeah, well, we wish you particularly, but for all our panel today, all the very best navigating your way back into business, both personally, how you will be sort of changed by the experience, but also your business offering and how trading works. It seems to us that if everyone takes the view that if we all contribute to our business society, we all trade with each other, then everyone will have a sustainable option, at least going forwards. Whereas if we hunker down and don't spend and don't think and are too fearful and so on, it could spiral the other way. But as long as Bath sticks together, you and others, we hope will have great businesses going forward. So Kat, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Toby, let's have you come forward if we may.
I'll try and get in here.
You've had the joys of technology this morning. We're aware that...
I'm still struggling.
There we go.
I'm there. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, and we can see you resplendent in your tie, sir.
Excellent. Okay.
So tell us this, Toby. You're an experienced, resourceful man. How have you been filling your time these last 3 months or so? Any bold new plans?
Yeah, it's never been busier, Greg. We are fortunate in medicine because we had precedents in the past from SARS nearly 20 years ago, MERS about 7 years ago, and so we knew what was coming at the beginning of the year when the news came from China in January. We had an opportunity to sit down and prepare ourselves in February, secure supplies as we required. And when lockdown came in March, it was quite the reverse for us. We were galloping, never worked harder.
Talk us through that. When you say galloping, I have to say I can't imagine dentists actually moving fast. It seems like the wrong metaphor almost.
Okay, let me explain.
Yeah, please.
Because we observed what happened with SARS, which meant restricting movement, quarantining. It meant PPE until it came out of our ears. It meant social distancing. We were able to set up those protocols in February and have them installed and ready, so that when there was the mad panic in March, unfortunately, many of my colleagues were caught out because when they most needed PPE at the end of March, it wasn't available because most of it is imported from China, and China had locked down earlier in the month. We just beat that deadline, and we were prepared. What that meant was every dental practice in the country closed, except mine.
You were the only one?
We were the only one, other than government-sponsored 400 clinics that was supposedly set up by the government to meet the demands of dental emergencies. Now, of those, a third of those never got off the ground, but my clinic never stopped. So we were inundated.
Can you give us some metric, some idea of, compared with a normal month, what your March or April would have looked like? Maybe, not necessarily turnover, but say number of patients, the number of hours or whatever.
Yes. I measure the health of my clinic by how many new patients I see in a month. And that gives me an idea of how healthy we are and how effective we are with marketing. My new patient volume increased tenfold.
Wow.
And of those, most of those patients, after having their emergencies dealt with, have stayed with us.
I have to say, if you did a complete stand back and said, if you looked at all the different sectors of business life in the UK and those which might, against the odds, sort of thrive or at least do well in lockdown, I doubt any of us would put a dentistry practice, however esteemed, towards the top of that list. That is quite remarkable.
Well, I think we could have expected the healthcare services to be inundated and obviously very focused on COVID, but also patients become unwell with other medical problems. And I think that a clinic of mine, like mine, which is small, can move quickly, can change with the marketplace, can adapt itself quickly. It doesn't have to go through myriads of meetings and consulting other people. I'm an autocrat, and so I can sit down, look at what's happening, and we can change the very next day what we're doing.
If you're an autocrat, and that's your term for yourself, how has lockdown changed your management approach, if at all?
It's actually been managing the volume. It's also having to address seeing so many new patients who are perhaps not used to the format that we present, that we have established here in Bath. And so there's been a sort of a focus on education to inform people and also to put ourselves in the marketplace where we wouldn't normally appear, because we realized there were people out there that would not be using the normal vehicles to find us.
What, if I could just unpack that, what does that actually mean? The places where you wouldn't ordinarily appear?
Well, I would never have imagined that I was going to put plastic banners all over the city to let people know where they could get emergency dental services. I never imagined for a moment I'd be on the front page of the Bath Chronicle to advertise my emergency dental services. But it occurred to me that there were people from all spectres of society that would be in a pickle and would not know where to go.
Dentists clearly, like many sectors in healthcare, have a very profound duty of care, absolutely always continuing, previous and ongoing, but particularly in current times. Presumably you've been working within tight strictures from the Dentistry Association, the BDA?
Yep, we've had directives from the Department of Health, the British Dental Association, quality care commissions, and we've condensed all those recommendations and concerns so that we'd be able to continue to deliver. So we have a very strict protocol for seeing patients, which I consider is probably going to stay with us for a very long time.
Yeah, I read your protocol and I wondered how much stricter that was than the BDA's own guidelines.
I would say that, of course, being the autocrat that I am, I consider we've set the gold standard. But I think we've met all the all the requirements to minimize risk of transmission and minimize the infectivity of this disease process in the community.
And in that protocol, I noticed this is obviously the points that one might expect about PPE, about using overshoes, of course, contactless payment and so on. But I was struck also by filtered laminar airflow that changes the room up to 20 times each hour.
That's right.
How did you put that in? What actually is that?
Okay. Well, I was fortunate in that I personally built my own clinic just over 10 years ago. I had a hospital background for nearly 15 years beforehand. I operated in operating theatres which had clean air, obviously in operating theatres in hospitals, and I introduced the same systems in the infrastructure of my new clinic when I built it.
So to tell us this, I mean, is this the wrong way to be thinking about it? That there's extra stricture structures and so on that you've been applying, as we've just been talking about. Will they be relaxed subsequently, or will all of this continue going forwards? Not the PPE. I'm assuming that will be relaxed.
Yes.
But
yes.
What will continue of the new stuff going forwards?
Yeah. I've worked very closely with my colleagues in North America, particularly in California. If you ever want to see the future social, political, professional protocols in this country, go to California and you'll see Britain in 30 years' time. These protocols that we've established were already in place in California. And I think they're here to stay, and I see them as an improvement in what we previously did. So it does mean I no longer have a functioning waiting room. It does mean that my patients won't come to the Toby Talbot Club and meet other patients to be able to swap notes on what I've been doing to them, because they will never see another patient. There will not be a patient meeting another patient. So that separation, I think, is here to stay. But that's it, really. Otherwise, I think the protocols are not going to change.
Tell us about emergency cases. That I guess has been the trigger to much of your business in this lockdown period.
Yes.
How swiftly were you able to respond to someone's needs? If they phone up in absolute agony at 6 o'clock on a Sunday, how's it worked out?
Well, it hasn't changed my culture, because I'm obsessional about looking after patients at all hours, which is probably why I'm still single and childless, and I don't even have a dog and a cat. So I will respond to a phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning and open my clinic half an hour later for a patient. And that has always been so. So actually nothing has changed. Wow.
I think it's correct that Bath has the greatest number of dentists per head of any other UK city. Put another way, it's highly competitive. Yes. How have you sought to keep your brand alive while you can't trade in quite the same way as previously?
Right, by not actually being a general practice, by being a specialist practice, by having a maxillofacial surgeon, by having a consultant orthodontist, and being able to provide specialist services, which means when you have a lot of general dentists around you, they are the source of patients. So actually it's just what you want as a specialist.
It's an ill wind or something lurks in there, I suspect.
Exactly.
And tell us about these specific extra issues that dentists face, which may not be immediately apparent. Such that, again, I noticed in your protocol, you're talking about the issues of drilling teeth, creating fine droplets.
Yes.
How do you counteract that?
Right. Well, firstly, it's in the kit. So there are traditionally drills that are used that produce an aerosol effect, which means compressed air is used to turn the turbine that rotates the drill in the patient's mouth. And that means there's an exhaust of air that goes into the mouth, and the patients are very familiar with those drills. Well, there are alternative drills that don't use compressed air. They use electricity to drive the drill, and therefore there's a much reduced aerosol effect. We can also isolate the area that we're working in with a little shroud or rubber dam, so that the dispersal of the droplets is evacuated very quickly by high volume suction. So a combination of that will make a significant change. Now, it may be that the general practitioner will open a window in the same way that we know we're all safer if we go down to the coast outside than if we collectively join other people in an enclosed room. So as long as there's good airflow in a room, and as long as you're using the kit that can reduce the droplet formation, then you're reducing the risks considerably.
Toby, my last question for you at this stage is, you are an extremely confident man and very experienced and so on. But have you had any doubts about your business in these recent times?
Not at all. No. No, you know when you come to run your own business, for me it's a game, and sometimes it becomes a battle, and sometimes it becomes a war, but it's a game that I relish, and we're forever in our own businesses, keeping an eye on the market, looking outside, looking externally, sitting down, reflecting, and trying to be ahead of that change.
Well, I think it's a lot for us to digest there. We'll be calling you back in a moment, Toby, as part of the panel session. If I could ask you to take yourself off video at this point, if that's okay. And we'll bring in Eddie Illich. Many of you will know Eddie's story, an incredibly inspiring story of, where's Eddie? There's Eddie. Of some personal difficulties some years back, and learning the skill of hairdressing, applying that as your business area, but actually taking it to the streets and helping many hundreds of people through Eddie's Street Cuts. Eddie, good morning.
Good morning, Greg. Good to see you.
Well, very good to see you. You're a very positive, indefatigable guy with extraordinary drive and that great backstory and so on. But for all that sense of not ambition, but the sort of pizzazz that you bring, the drive, the energy, and so on. How has lockdown been for you? Have you felt sort of contained and constrained?
Yeah, I think it's been, like for many people, really, it's been quite difficult. It hasn't been easy. With all the kind of voluntary work that I do on the side, as well as my full-time job, it has been difficult, but yet there's been quite a lot of positives as well. Me and my partners have moved flat, which has been really good. And I've really kind of just slowed down. Do you know what I mean? I haven't kind of, before lockdown, I was really busy with work and, the Eddie Street Cuts as well, which was a huge positive. But I've kind of just really slowed down and, been able to kind of connect with myself a little bit more, although that can be quite uncomfortable. And it has been uncomfortable because mentally it's been quite uncomfortable. Within the beginning kind of 3 weeks of lockdown, being self-employed under a year, I've had no help from the government. And universal credit was really hard to get hold of, and so we haven't had anything from the universal credit, so I've had no income coming in, but what I felt I've had to do is get off my backside and find a job. So I've been working in Sainsbury's, doing temporary work until I can get back to the salon, and that's been great. They've been really kind to me. It's been good for me to have structure. It's been good for me to get out of the house. I was doing night shifts before, and to be honest, that was really difficult because I'll be leaving home at 9 in the evening and then coming home at 7:30, and that would kind of bring on a little bit of sessional thinking, thoughts that kind of, I was in my active addiction. So I've kind of had to make a change and look in areas of that. And so I've swapped onto days, and, that's been great. And but unfortunately, they've had to let me go last week or the week before it was, because they didn't have any more hours. So it's kind of been a little bit of a roller coaster, but at the same time, it's been positive. I've managed to really focus on the Eddie Street cuts, and you know, kind of, so in that perspective, it's been quite of a blessing really, and moving flat, which has been really positive.
We'll come on to Eddie's street cuts in a little bit. I do just want to just explore that a little further for you personally, that you know, everyone has had a period of forced contemplation. How has that process been for you? Because, as I say, you are such an otherwise active person. Has that actually been quite difficult to sort of stop or pause?
Yeah, like you know, it's been, I know it's been difficult for a lot of people, but you know, I'm very open about my recovery and about my past, because you know, being 26 and God willing, it will be next year 5 years in sobriety without touching a drink or a drug. You know, I've been, the recovery meetings that I go to, the 12-step programs, obviously they're held in churches, so they haven't been able, we haven't had that unity, which has been kind of difficult. But something that has really saved me is these Zoom meetings. I've been doing a lot of them online, and you know, you can find that on the 12-step program website. And you know, there's been days where I've been feeling very disconnected, and there's days where I've been feeling connected. And for me, you know, where I've been so active before and helping the homeless, which has been a huge part of my recovery, because for me, to keep it, you've got to give it away. And so I've had to kind of really go back to basics, to something that has always helped me keep clean and sober, and which I try and practice, as in, you know, which has been said amazingly by Aaron, you know, meditation, prayer, you know, I've got readings that I do, but also I try and contact the newcomer. So somebody who is struggling, somebody who's, you know, in that grip of addiction themselves, you know, I'll make a phone call. I think it's so important to phone someone rather than hide behind a message. You know, have that contact by speaking to someone can make such a big difference.
And I hope this isn't inappropriate to say, but it seems to me, I know you know a little bit from the time when you won the Bath Life Awards and so on, but for you personally to have been tested as you have been in this period, and to come through with such mental resolve and integrity, I think is really, really commendable.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to move on to Eddie Street Cuts. What have you been able to do in these weeks and months?
So obviously, active-wise, hands-on, nothing. You know, we haven't been able to do any haircuts. So, you know, right at the beginning of the lockdown, you know, I was a little bit kind of worried for the homeless. You know, I was a little, because, you know, I think it's important to kind of get it across that these men and women, they're at risk. Do you know what I mean? They're not risk, they're at risk. Just because they look how they are, you know, it doesn't mean, you know, that they're not normal human beings. Do you know what I mean? So they've been, you know, I've been thinking about them a lot, really. A lot of my homeless friends on the street I've been thinking about. But during, you know, I've been kind of having like ideas, and you know, I've been in touch with other homeless organisations, and managed to get another team together in Chippenham, in Doorways. So we have now a team of 30, and we're covering 9 homeless charities in the southwest. So that's the DHI in Bath and Bristol and Midsomer Norton, and we're also in hopefully September time going to be launching in Chippenham and helping the homeless there. And obviously it's been such a knock-on effect for so many beauticianists like Kat, and you know, other, you know, gyms, and everyone, you know, and especially hairdressers as well, because it's affected businesses as well. So it's affected, you know, the girls that wanted to get involved with Chippenham, they can't start till September because of their own business. But you know, it's so lovely because we've got a WhatsApp group, and you know, we're all itching to get back and cutting hair. And I'm hoping to go out to Chippenham after the 4th of July when we have that, you know, go sign to go, really.
Right. Well, all power to you, Eddie, particularly on the streets cut time. What I would like to do is to bring the other panelists back in. We'll open some questions about that exact return to work you just referenced there. So if I could ask Toby, Kat and Aaron to rejoin us, please. The powers of technology. Lovely. Good. So tell us this. There is a theory that in lockdown, people have learned through necessity to care less for their appearance and, of course, to spend less, of course. Do you think we'll revert come July 4th, come whatever date it might be? Kat, maybe you might like to take that first.
I think I think habits, you know, people's habits, especially, you know, people getting themselves ready for work, all that kind of thing. We've all got our little habits in the way that we dress and the way that we present ourselves. And I think if people are going into a physical space, then yes. But I think a lot of people have, including myself, not been making such an effort on your hair and your makeup and what you wear. And it just goes back to basics of what's really important, isn't it? And yeah, food, shelter, all the basics.
Yeah, it's into that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I guess, and of which survival is well up there. Toby, it much less applies, if at all, to your sector. But as an observer of the broader health and then into beauty territory, do you think people will be spending as much time on their appearance, their health as previously, or indeed might it even be more?
I think they will do that. I think they'll resume some of those habits that they had before, but there will be significant changes. I think that there are people who have learnt the benefit of working from home instead of going into an office, which may shift that paradigm about whether they need the office as much as they needed before. I think walking into work or cycling into work, I've actually adopted, where previously I'd jump in the car and drive across town. I don't need to do that, or I don't feel I need to do that. And I love the quietness. I love the sound of birdsong more than I ever heard before. And the clean air and the empty skies. And those are things that will give us an opportunity to reflect upon. And I think some of those habits that we've had in the past will change.
Okay, tell us this on a practical basis, and this pretty much applies to all of you. How will social distancing work within your businesses? What will 1 metre plus mean in terms of your team, but also, of course, customers?
Yeah, good question, Greg. I think, you know, one of the reasons why we obviously haven't been able to get back onto the streets or into the hostels is you know, it's that uncertainty as well. You know, I've been in touch with a lot of the charities that we get involved with, like Julian House, and you know, we're kind of still waiting to hear back. But you know, we've been donated by Foldal UK some face visors, which is, you know, these amazing good looking things here. So
Peter, I'm sorry, I'm on the web air, that's why I didn't get to the phone earlier.
And you know, full PPE equipment, and yeah, so it's going to be something which is going to be strange to adjusting, but I think we can do it, you know.
Aaron, for you, social distancing, how will that work when you, as mentioned earlier, you have a very close relationship with people, physically close. For you, social distancing?
Until we know what the regulations are going to be, it's very difficult for us to make any plans. And I think that's been the hardest thing. The unknown. We don't know how far apart people are going to have to be when we do go back to it. Is it going to be different for gym spaces where people are getting sweaty and hot? You know, we've measured the gym out. We know that we can safely get like 15 people in there with their own box of like a 2 meter square. But whether that's enough, and whether we've got enough kit for everyone to have their own piece of kit the whole time, so they're not sharing bits of kit, that's another interesting question. And I don't know whether people will want to be in that many people in the same room for a while. You know, that could play an effect on how many people we actually get in. We might think we can get 15, but people might not want to be that close.
And Kat, what about your place in Broad Street? What limitations might there be at 1 metre plus as compared with previously?
Yeah, I mean, well, we touch people for a living, don't we, essentially, and we touch faces for a living. So it's not great, is it? I mean, I think makeup for us is going to be a no-no for a while. So I think the virtual, like I said earlier, will definitely be the case. And teaching all the workshops online. Things like pedicures, we can distance a certain amount, a metre. We wear gloves and sanitize areas every hour as standard anyway. So there's certain things that will really change for us and certain things that won't. I think the main thing is going to be reassuring people. So it will be putting in all the measures so that people are reassured as well that we've gone that extra mile, that it really is a sanitized area that people feel safe in, because we're not a necessity, and you've got to be honest about that. And so we've got to reassure people as well as implementing all these new measures.
By the way, in terms of reassuring people, I suspect you may want a different strap for your business than "we touch people for a living."
Yeah, we won't do that.
It's a lovely phrase, but it conjures up different images. But I want to come on to that reassurance point, that is going to be one of the inhibitors on virtually every single part of business. Do we risk going to Milsom Street? Do we want to go to a pub when they open, etc.? How will you reassure people? Toby, you've got a profound structure in place, but still the issue of reassurance must loom all the time.
Yeah, and I think it's because of the way we present ourselves now. It's because of the way we keep people apart, and they will not meet others. It actually improves my life because of the volume of clients that I see is reduced, because I need half an hour in between every visit of every patient so that we can disinfect everything afterwards and before. I'm enjoying working more than I've ever done because of it. And I'm sure that'll rub off onto patients when they feel that I'm a lot more rested, and there's no tension as there used to be, because very often in the past we'd be finishing something off with a client only with our minds thinking of somebody else sitting upstairs about to come into the room, and that's now gone, and I like that.
Eddie, tell us about reassurance both ways round on the street cut side. One, for the homeless that you and colleagues and so on will be cutting the hair for in some weeks' time, next week perhaps. But two, from your point of view, in terms of your own personal safety, when dealing with inevitably with homeless people who cannot have the same, and I mean this nicely, they cannot have quite the same hygiene capability perhaps as other people. How does that reassurance work both ways around? Yeah,
I think we're going to have to be very kind of strict on PPE for our own safety as well as for their safety as well. Within close proximity, it's going to be very difficult. I don't think that's going to happen. Down at Julian House, the day centre is quite small. So, I've been looking at kind of ways of how we can do some hair cutting, perhaps outdoors, so we can space out. And, usually I like to give like a nice kind of face massage and a bit of human touch to the gents. And obviously that's not going to be happening because we're going to have to do kind of, I guess, kind of quite express, quick haircuts, and it's going to be strange, but it's not going to be like this forever. I know that. So, and like Aaron was saying, until we get there, until we do it, we'll just see how it unfolds, really. But I think it's going to be important to, just to keep safe, and PPE, face visors, gloves, and things like that.
And Aaron, presumably the communication of that safety point, the protocols, the approach, and so on, that's ever more important now than previously. How do you think you will be approaching that to give people the reassurance that they are safe, almost literally in your hands?
Before we went into full lockdown, we already had to start doing that as a business. There's a lot of pressure to keep up with the government guidelines that were changing daily. So communication to our clients was key, and we'll be coming out of this. We did a post every day. I felt like Boris Johnson doing my video to all our members, but I told them every day what we were doing to make sure that they felt safe and felt comfortable coming back into the space. So we're going to be doing a video run through of how we expect people to approach the gym when we can reopen again, and how we're going to be looking after everyone. So it's available to anyone to see on social media and on our on our website, so everyone can feel safe and know that we're taking the necessary precautions. And then they have a chance to ask questions as well before they come in, to if there's anything of concern, and there might be areas that we may have missed. So there's an opportunity for people to help us highlight some of those as well.
Got a specific question for you, Aaron. It's from Rosanna Hood at Media Clash, who I'm sure you know well. It sort of applies across the piece, but primarily to you. Do you think that free fitness content has devalued the industry's offering, that people are used to tuning in for free and getting much of their fitness needs thereby?
Yeah, I mean, we went online with the business because we needed to be able to support our community as much as possible. So we were still asking people to pay to help support us, and that was tough when everybody out there had some free content on Instagram. Every gym was doing free videos. Every personal trainer in the world went to do free stuff online. People who weren't even fitness instructors were releasing fitness videos, and so it really devalued kind of what we were doing, what the industry was doing. And it made it really tough for everyone to survive when you're trying to do a paid for business. And clients stayed with us for a while, but I know that a few people dropped off because of the fact that they could get stuff for free. And why would you continue to pay for it if you're not in full-time employment, or you've had your wage cut slightly? And as much as they would want to support us, when it's all out there for free and it's still good quality, why are you going to keep paying? That was really tough.
Well, boomerang it back to you. How do you then countermand that thinking?
I think what we had is the personal touch. We know our clients, and we had a personal interaction with them over Zoom. We're saying their name physically and telling them tips on what to do, and that's the only way that it made a difference. We didn't actually gain any new clients really in lockdown. It wasn't a chance to pick anyone up, but we managed to keep our community pretty strong because of that personal touch, and our clients, our trainers, really get on with each other. And so there was that kind of nice bit of banter in the mornings at 6 a.m. when we're doing our live class, and it still had a bit of the feeling that you were in a gym. And so, yeah, I think that was the only way, that personal touch and the personality of each of our trainers still shining through with people who recognise them.
Clearly, lockdown has prompted more ingenuity from us all. How are you viewing your businesses now? The comms, the routes to market, ways of making money. Are you thinking about your businesses differently? Toby?
Yes, very much. I've learnt a lot regarding making contact with certain demographics that previously I didn't make an effort towards. And so we'll be using a much broader platform for marketing and promoting our clinic than we ever considered in the past. That will certainly be a change and a major feature for the future.
How about you, Kat? What are you thinking differently about your business, about the routes to market, comms, and so on, or the business offering even?
Sorry, Kat, I just want to say thank you. I've got to leave, guys, because I've got to teach. I say thank you very much for having me.
That's the best excuse for leaving. Cheers, Aaron. Thanks for your contribution today. All the best.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
In terms of marketing strategies,
and how you're thinking about your business differently. This lockdown has prompted a change of thinking, perhaps.
Yeah, complete change for me. I mean, the makeup workshops are based, I started them because I wanted to give an everyday woman who is shy of makeup the opportunity to apply. And obviously we've done that really well over the past few years, having done 4,000 women. But what I haven't done, because I'm shy of the camera and I've always been behind the camera in my job, I've never been in front of it. So it's forced me to go in front of the camera, which is something I haven't wanted to do. And it means that we can get a lot wider audience and tap into those women who are shy of makeup and who do lack confidence, and to give that confidence boost. So I think if anything, it's sort of bringing me back to my original sort of plan with Little Lab and connecting with what the meaning is behind it as well.
As a more general point, what are your levels of confidence for and expectations even for the rest of the year and into the beginning of next year? Where are you on the scale between being, exceptionally cautious, robust, optimistic? We could ask all three of you. Perhaps Eddie, start with you.
Sorry, could you say that again, Greg? Sorry.
What's your level of confidence or your expectations for the rest of the year and the coming months?
Yeah, I think we're really looking forward to getting back, and even kind of walking out onto the street to go to the shop and seeing a few of my homeless friends. They've always asked, when are you back at the hostels, when are you cutting hair? So I think they're really looking forward to getting that human connection and more of that, and a fresh trim as well. So I'm looking forward to kind of getting back on the road and helping out where we can, and covering some more homeless charities as well, so helping out there as well. So I'm I hope it will go all well and all well for everyone as well.
Toby, reasonably confident about the coming months ahead?
Yes, I am, and I can see our business growing, and I can see bringing more people into the team, and I can see our services diversifying to give us a little bit more flexibility in the future.
And Kat, how about you? You've got sort of a slightly delayed experience of what business will be. You don't quite know yet when you'll be opening and so on. What's your view of your business in the next few months?
I mean, I think the future is definitely bright and positive in terms of what we're going to do and moving forward, and the new approach and the new, virtual side of the business model. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't slightly cautious of what's going to happen over the next few months. I think we will be busy, but like anybody, it's hard. I can't forecast anything at the moment, numbers wise. And I'm just a little bit concerned that there might be a slight dip if there's a rise in the corona outbreak again. So there is an element of caution, but there has been a different approach to how we'll deal with it going forward.
And how about the bigger picture of Bath for all three of you? On the one hand, this is a city which has had huge benefit from tourism, which doesn't really exist, hospitality, which is currently on hold and about to re-emerge shortly, and events and all else and so on. On the other, it's a city of great ingenuity and drive. Where do you view the business of Bath as a whole, Bath PLC, in the next few months? Toby?
I'm concerned about the lack of tourists. I'm concerned about the lack of visitors, because that'll go through and affect many businesses that are supporting those tourists. And of course, it's the owners of those businesses who are the clients of my clinic. And so as a consequence of that, I am focusing and strategically moving my vision towards outside Bath and beyond Bath. For example, in the last 2 or 3 months, we've established links with Wales, far more than we would have considered. And that will now continue.
And if only there were a magazine such as Cardiff Life with other events around it that could help you in that process. If it existed, I'm sure it could help you. How about you, Eddie? What's your sense of Bath as a whole?
I think, obviously everyone has kind of struggled in some sense, but I loved seeing people supporting independent businesses, Cortado, amazing coffee, the queues out the door, Tyler Boutique, all these independent Bath coffee shops and things like that. It's been great seeing, I guess they've been quite busy because it was like a month or so since I've had a proper flat white, so it was good to get one of them. I think it's been a struggle for the homeless. It's been a massive struggle for them. for everyone. You know, at the end of the day, they're normal human beings. So, you know, they want to go out as well in lockdown. You know, they want to go out and see their friends. They want to, you know, go to the shop or whatnot, you know. So it's been really difficult for them as well. And also, you know, being able to see people as well on the street, you know, because obviously town has been so quiet. And, you know, a few of them have come up to us and said it's been really, really struggle. But, you know, the amazing thing is, the positive thing is, the amount of work that other charities in Bath that are doing for the homeless is just amazing.
Let's come on to that perhaps at the very end. And Kat, just tell us your prognosis for Bath as a whole in the coming months.
What do I think is going to happen over the next few months? I think Bath's got a great community spirit. I think everybody comes together and everybody's great here at supporting independent businesses. And, you know, that's been shown. That's why we've got so many of them here as well. And I'm hoping that everybody will come out their homes and start supporting each other, and things will be, I think there'll be a real surge over the next few months of people just having a bit of cabin fever and wanting to support each other again, I'm hoping.
And that's one of the key themes which we've been promoting with Bath Life, which is it's been so touching to see the good that people and businesses of Bath are doing, creating clever ways of support and help as you're gesturing where they can. We've been pushing out hard on social media with Bath Together as our hashtag and our Bath Life emails and so on. We really encourage everyone to do that, to share the good stuff that's out there. But talking of which, Toby, perhaps start with you. Some closing thoughts on some interesting new developments or things that the good that people are doing out there.
I think the previous gentleman, Eddie, referred to local businesses, and I believe that the community has supported local businesses far more than it has before, and I believe those relationships that are now established are here to stay, and I welcome that.
Good, thank you. Kat, for you, what struck you about the good that people do?
I think that, you know, everybody's supporting each other in terms of, you know, even just for the elderly going to take, you know, baskets of food, all that stuff that we're seeing across sort of the media. But also even just down to people like the YMCA, which I rent a shop off. You know, they've opened up their doors to all the people that have lost their jobs and to the homeless, and they've made a really big effort. So I think Bath as a whole has made a massive effort to support each other.
And Eddie, Julian House, I think you had a couple of thoughts on?
Yeah, I mean, I know Julian House have been working extremely hard, you know, twice as hard as what they have been working. You know, they've managed to accommodate over 40 men and women off the streets and into accommodation. You know, and that's been something that I feel this city has been lacking on, you know, supported housing, because it's kind of, you know, where is the middle ground? You know, it's so up here and so down here. Do you know what I mean? It needs that kind of balance. Volunteers have been able to, some volunteers have been able to go into Julian House. I know the Mint Rooms have dropped off curry, you know, so they've been having some curry, which has been lovely. And, you know, it all interlinks with the homeless charities. DHI have still been managing to do their drug and alcohol services. Bristol as well. Obviously, Bristol is interlinked with Bath charities as well. So, you know, hats off to these guys for really putting that hard work out there. And you know, I'm hearing some noises, some positivity after this lockdown with the homeless, that, you know, people will be housed and this will be looked on more seriously and more with more care and kindness as well.
When it comes to care, kindness and positivity, I think we've all heard some good stories, some good anecdotes and thinking from our panelists today, and I'd like to thank all of them, please. So to Kat, to Toby, to Aaron and to Eddie, thank you very much. Thank you for your time today as well, for all watching it either live or on YouTube. Look out for our next Bath Life Business Surgery with DataSharp on July the 6th. Please join us for Bull Aid on July 30th. As Eddie has touched on, the charities of Bath really, really need you. And yes, also look out for that slightly parochial announcement about something called Bath Life later this week. These have been testing times for all businesses, Whether you've been trading throughout or returning blinkingly in recent weeks or planning your return as some of our panelists are today, it will be the autumn that will be our proving ground. Very, very best wishes to our panelists for their business and to all in the health and beauty sector. Indeed, good luck and good wisdom to you all. This has been a Media Clash production, and this has been the Bath Life Business Club. Thank you. Bath together.